Good afternoon. We are starting Unit 6 with a PO 34. I can use direct proportions in real context. So we're taking what we worked on in the last unit, and now we're putting it into real context. And we're going to be going even deeper into it. Some of the objectives from the last test were a little bit easier, but now we're going a little bit more in depth with them. Okay, so we're really having to tie it all together. So let's look at what the direct proportion is. There are three types of proportions: direct, partitive, and inverse. Direct proportions and partitive proportions will seem familiar, while inverse proportions will likely be new. So our first objective is with the direct proportions. Tomorrow, what do you think we're going to do? The partitive, and then we're getting to the inverse. So we're kind of easing our way in with what is familiar, getting to the little bit more complicated. So today we are just focusing on the direct proportions. A direct proportion is the relation between quantities whose ratio is constant. So a direct proportion has that constant ratio. So this objective will require concepts from past lessons, including unit rates and proportions. So it's taking what we worked on last unit and it's putting it into that real context. So let's look at this first one. Ooh, too fast. Okay. A car travels 300 miles in 6 hours. So if we're driving out to Milwaukee, leaving from here, we're driving 300 miles, and it's going to take us 6 hours. Yes?
For A, you figure out how many miles are in 1 hour, which is 50, and then you times that by 8 to get to 400 miles in 8 hours.
So Paul is using what we worked on the last time. So we're going to set up, we know it's 300 miles in 6 hours, not 8, 6 hours. So we need to find out how far we can go in 8 hours. So we need to bring it down to the 1 hour. We need to find that unit rate. How many miles can we go in 1 hour? So we're going to divide out that 6 because we want it to go down to 1 hour. 300 divided by 6 is 50 miles. So we can go 50 miles in 1 hour. Now we want to know how many we can go in 8 hours. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 8. So we can go 400 miles in 8 hours.
And then it gives you the answer for C.
So as you're looking at it, as we're figuring out A, we can see, oh, look at C. How many miles is the car traveling per hour? That's our unit rate. We already figured that one out. So it's traveling 50 miles per hour. Now it says how many feet does it go? Well, if we know it can go 400 miles in 8 hours, how many feet is that? How do we figure that one out, Maddie?
Well, you go back to page 11, you'll see that there's 12 inches in 1 foot, and there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile.
Yeah, so if we look back at a CO33, where we have some of these proportions already filled in, you can use that. There's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. We want to know how many we go for 8 miles. How many feet? So to go from 1 to 8, we were multiplying by 8. So what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So 5,280 feet times 8, what? Oh, sorry. Hours. My mistake. Thank you, Colin.
Wait, but
That's not.
I'm looking at B.
Oh,
How many feet does the car travel in 8 hours?
Okay, never mind. I thought you were just going on
Oh, you multiplied it by 50.
To go to 1 hour to 8 hours? Is that what you're looking at?
I'm looking at, because in 1 hour, you don't go 1 mile.
No, in an hour it's 5,280.
So 1 mile is 5,280 feet.
Now you're gonna times that
But you
by
have
50.
to go 5,
No, you
times
do
an
5,280.
hour. Times, like, you found a mile.
Okay, let's start over.
You basically.
Friends, let's just start over. So we're good with A and C. People know how we did A and C? Okay. Just friends, patience. Let's start over. I had people walking me through stuff. Let's start over. How many feet does a car travel in 8 hours? Well, we know it can go 5,280 feet. 5,280 feet in 1 mile. That's why I had the miles there. Because we need to go from 1 mile to
50 miles,
50 miles.
right?
That's where we're making our
And
difference.
then you times that answer by 8 to get there.
No, because you have to get to, that's just B. Wait,
times 400. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Times 400.
It's 8 hours.
So we want to go 400 miles, right?
Yeah.
So to go 400 miles, so we want to know how many feet would be in that 400 miles. So we're going to multiply it by the 400. Does that make more sense? That makes more sense to me too. So what is it?
2,112,000.
Feet.
It's 21 million.
21 million?
Yeah.
21 million what?
Oh, yeah, it's 2 million. Sorry.
Okay, got it. So 2,112,000 feet in 400 miles, and it goes 400 miles in 8 hours. So our answer would be 2,112,000 feet in 8 hours.
It's not asking for 8 hours, it's asking per hour.
How many feet does the car? How many feet does the car travel in 8 hours?
No, I'm doing B, I thought we were on C.
We've already done C.
Yep, I know.
So, yep, I jumped around a little because C we were able to answer after we figured out A. So let's look at D. How many feet is the car traveling per second? Griggs,
0.013.
tell me how you worked it out.
So there's 50 miles in 1 hour.
Okay,
So then in 1 hour equals 60 minutes.
wait, hold on. 50 miles
3,600.
in 1 hour. Then what'd you do?
Then since 1 hour equals 60 minutes. Oh, wait.
Well, you have to convert
Oh,
8
yeah.
hours to seconds. How does that work?
This has more steps to it, doesn't it?
Well, there's
All right. Colin, how do you think we're gonna work this out?
So, I think first you have to convert,
Since we already know that there's 50 miles an hour,
Mhm.
you could multiply it by how many miles are in how many feet are in a mile.
Okay, so we want to convert from miles to feet. So it's still gonna be 1 hour. How do we go, if it's 50 miles, what are we gonna multiply it by to get to the feet, Colin?
5,280.
Because there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile, so we need to multiply 50 miles by our feet. So what is 5,280 times 50?
264,000.
Wait, times 80?
264,
Times 5,000.
Colin, 264,000?
Yeah.
So we went from our miles to our feet, still in an hour, right? It's still 1 hour. We can go 50 miles, which is the same thing as 264,000 feet. So now I have my feet. I'm using the right measurement. I need to go from hours to seconds.
3,000.
So what are my steps?
Oh.
So I'm at 264,000 feet in 1 hour. What do I do next, Paul?
Well, you have to convert hours to seconds.
So how do I do that?
You can convert 1 hour to 60 minutes. Well, and then 60 seconds.
So to go from 60 minutes to 60 seconds, what do I do?
You have to go to 1 minute. Well, yeah. You
Ah,
have to divide the.
so it's step by step. You have to, don't be skipping out on any steps. Okay, that's how we get confused when we have these multi-step problems. You have to take it one step at a time, and you have to have the patience to do that. So I need to go from 60 minutes down to 1 minute, which means I have to divide by 60. What is 264,000 divided by 60? 4,400 feet in 1 minute. So 1 minute is the same as 60 seconds. Now we need to get down to 1 second. So we're going to divide that by the 60.
So 73.3.
What is it?
73.3.
73.3 repeating?
Yep.
So you see how we have to take what we had learned and we have to figure out how to apply it and go step by step by step. So make sure you're not skipping any of those steps. So we changed from miles to feet. The hours stayed the same. Then we went from hours down to minutes, or we switched from hours to minute and the feet stayed the same. We went from 60 minutes down to 1 minute, so we had to divide both the top and the bottom by 60. 1 minute is the same as 60 seconds, so our feet stayed the same. Then we wanted to go from 60 seconds to 1 second, so we had to divide both the top and the bottom by the 60. So it's that one step at a time. It's doing what we know. We did this last unit. We know how to do this. We're just putting it all together to answer each of the questions. Do we have questions on how to do this? Should we try doing one more together? Okay. Yes, Edward? What? Right here. 73.3 repeating is how many feet the car is traveling per second. So if we look up here, Edward, the answer to A is 400 miles per 8 hours. The answer to B is 2,112,000 feet. The answer to C is 50 miles per 1 hour. And the answer to D is 73.3 feet.
Which one's the correct answer?
It's not like that.
It's 4 questions, Edward.
Oh.
So we're answering all 4 questions. So it's not multiple choice. It's 4 different questions. It is. But you have to have the patience to do it. Oy, too fast. So let's look at the second one. This time there are only 3 questions we have to answer. A 40-ounce jug of grape juice costs $4.80. At this rate, how much would 65 ounces of juice cost? So we need to figure out what they're asking for. The first thing I do is I put this into my proportion. 40 ounces costs $4.80. At this rate, how much would 65 ounces of juice cost? So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to say it's $4.80 for 40 ounces.
But why would you flip it?
Why do you think I flipped it? Briggs?
Because you can't really divide 4.8.
Well, what is it that we're looking for?
How much?
We want to know, we want to bring it down to 1 ounce and find out how much 1 ounce costs and then multiply it up to the 65 ounces.
So we do 4, so we find the unit rate?
So you're going to find the unit rate. How much, what is the unit rate for 1 ounce of juice? So 1 ounce is going to be, is it really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
I already have the answer.
Okay. So 1 ounce of juice costs you 12 cents. So can you figure out how much 65 ounces of juice are going to be? Multiply it by 65, right? How much is 12 times 65?
$7.80.
Now it says you find a different brand of grape juice that is 35 ounces jug for $3.85. Which jug of juice is the better price per ounce? So we already know the per ounce of our first group, right? So now we have to find the per ounce of our second. If we have $3.85 for 35 ounces, how much is it for 1 ounce?
11 cents. But you'd only, I think, the first time 1 ounce. I know.
So 1 ounce is 11 cents. Which jug is the better price?
Off-brand.
By
1 cent. 1 cent.
The 35 ounce.
Off-brand?
We don't know if it's an off-brand. It just said
Yeah.
different.
Well, I'm just gonna go off-brand, okay?
Shh. We are recording, so let's not be shouting out random comments. C, you have $20 to spend and decide to purchase as many jugs as you can of the juice that is the cheaper per ounce. How many jugs can you buy with $20 and how much money will you have left over? So we have to think this one through. We know 35 ounces for $3.85 is the better deal. So we're going to buy that jug because it's cheaper. How many jugs can we buy for $20? So if it's $3.85 for 1 jug, 35 ounces, how many jugs can we buy? What do I do? Is this a proportions question? No, it's making you use prior knowledge. What do I have to do? Maddie, what do you think?
You would have to do $3.85
I have $20, I need to divide it by my $3.85. What did you get?
I got 19 cents. It's 2.925, but I rounded it to near. It's 5.
No, it's 5.19.
Yeah.
Did you do 20 divided by 3.85? What's 20 divided by 3.85?
It's 5.19.
So if I can divide 20 by 3.85, I have 5.19. What does that tell me? How many jugs can I buy, Colin? I can buy 5 jugs. Then the second part of my question says, how much money is left over?
5 times 3.85, and then take 20.
So Colin says 3.85 times 5 gives you what, Colin?
19.3.
Not 0.3. We deal with hundredths when we deal with money. We need the cents.
Yeah, we were rounding it.
You can't round to the tenths because we're dealing with money. So it's 19.25, $19.25 we're spending. How much is left over, Cole?
75 cents.
So we will have 75 cents left.
So confused.
What are you confused by, Paul?
You have $20 to spend, right?
Yep,
And you want to try to spend most of it? Or?
yep. You want to buy as much juice as you can buy. Without, you can't go over.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
And you can't have like.
Colin, hold on. Let me see what Paul's question is. What's your question?
I kept going. I was finding how many ounces of juice you could buy.
Oh, yeah, we're not looking at how many ounces by, because we know that it comes in 35-ounce jugs. So how many jugs of juice at 35 ounces can you buy? So it's not asking how many ounces are you getting. You have to be really careful. It's asking how many jugs are we going to get. So you have to read each question separately because it's asking for different things. Does that make more sense now?
Yeah.
Any other questions on these two examples that we did? Okay, we're gonna end our recording for today. Hopefully this made sense for our friends at home. The biggest takeaway from this is you have to make sure you do every single step in the process. Don't skip any steps. We hope everybody at home is doing well, and we hope to see you soon.